Someone I massively root for their success in life and business. Good friend, the Wolf of Austin, more known by everybody else as Nick Perry. Always awesome to talk and chat with him. He's fresh off talking at Sean Terry's event, which is where we met in person the first time about 5 years ago, which is awesome to see. And it's been cool catching up with him a couple minutes before I hit the record button here. But Nick, man, it's a pretty easy job for someone in my position to extract valuable information and content and perceptions from you to share with whoever's listening to this. So let's just have a good conversation about some real estate investing, entrepreneur, your journey, mindset, and all that good stuff.
Well, man, dude, massive respect to you guys too. InvestorFuse has been there for me since like day one, right? Like 6 months after I got into my real estate investing journey, I've been using you guys ever since. So, you guys have been there, had my back the entire time. So really appreciate that.
Appreciate that, man. So for those who don't know you, which is going to be the minority of people listening to this, do you kind of want to talk about what your businesses look like now with both real estate, trucking, everything that you got going on currently?
Yeah. So, I've been very blessed to be able to build up my real estate company. We did, I think, a little over 3 million in 2020. And we've closed deals all over the nation now. So we're not localized in like any specific market. We've got 45 of the 50 states we've closed deals in. So I need to get New Hampshire, Vermont, the Dakotas, and Maine. Those are the only other states that I've got to get at this point. So we literally do them from coast to coast all over the U.S. And we do them right here, from our office in Austin. We don't have any boots on the ground or anybody, walk, physically from our team walking these properties. And we figured out, how to do that. It took us a long time to get to this point, but we've got it really dialed in now. So, 2020, despite, everything that was going on, we really hit our stride. And my team, they're all a bunch of go-getters as well, which allowed me to, start focusing on building other streams of income. So in 2020, I knew I was going to have some tax liability coming into the year. So I decided I need to figure out a way that I can get out of some of this tax liability. So, purchased some real estate. I started a trucking company, like the long distance semi trucks with the sleeper cabs and all that. I went and I bought another course in Mastermind and figured out how to start a trucking company and get an MC and DOT number and purchase trucks. And that's been phenomenal. The trucks, they cash flow like crazy. So, per truck that I have, I make like $3,900 a month net on it. And the trucks cost me, I'll buy them at the auction for 20 grand, slap a $5,000 top of the line warranty on them. I'm out the door for 25K and it's cash flowing 3,900 a month. So you're not going to get that in like single family or multifamily real estate. They don't appreciate like real estate does, but I love the cash flow. You can write off the entire amount of the truck. So it's been good to me. And then, I've got a bunch of the, automation stores that you see, guys selling online, the Walmart automation, the Amazon automation. So I've got like 6 of those stores. I've been buying those up. And, we just launched a platform to help other entrepreneurs that are, looking to scale as well. So that's been, the main thing that I've been focusing on as of like the last couple months. So super excited about that too.
Dude, I'm excited to hear that. And when I heard about it originally, what's the best place to check that out so someone can pull it up while we're talking through this interview here in case they're on their phone or computer?
So it's called the 7-Figure Cartel. So you can go check it out, 7figurecartel.com. And the reason that I named it that is because, I'm bringing together a community of people that are looking to scale their business. It's not a newbie course. It's for people that are doing maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 deals a month and are looking to get to that 10, 20, 30 deals a month consistently. So, we put basically all of our systems into online portal, everything from marketing to the time you got money in the bank and everything in between. But then what I don't like about, I've taken probably 1 million courses and stuff. What I don't like about it is once you start implementing, that's when the questions come up, right? Mm-hmm. What about this little nuance? What about that little nuance? So we're doing bi-weekly live calls with all the members to make sure that they're actually executing and hitting their goals and staying on track. So we're making a whole community out of it, private member group. The whole night will probably even like end up like doing events for the members and stuff in the future. So yeah, basically I took all 7 years of all the pain and lessons that I learned and told everybody exactly what works and what doesn't work, because I've spent more money on stuff that doesn't work than stuff that does work. And I think that if I would have had the information that I put in the course 7 years ago, I'd be a lot further along.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to see that. So guys, check it out in the show notes as well. 7figurecartel.com to get more information on that. Again, that's geared if you're doing one or multiple deals a month and are looking to scale that up. We can definitely talk about some philosophies and perspectives Nick has on that in this interview, as well as when he's about to share how he got into real estate, transition from part-time to full-time. I'm sure we'll cover both areas for both more so beginners or less experienced and then experienced investors that are listening to this. So definitely check it out. Check out 7figurecartel.com. And if you know Nick already, you're already hitting that link and looking into it. If you don't, you'll understand on this interview why he's an amazing person to follow, not only from deal volume, but also just genuinely an awesome human. And also I've seen, man, you probably don't have this. We're not going to talk a lot of KPIs on here. We're going to talk a lot of mindset stuff, but the amount just that I know that you've invested into coaching programs, masterminds, stuff like that, that's probably I would probably say over like $500,000 at this point. Maybe if I just had to guess.
I barely made it through high school, but I've got like over $500,000 education. So
I'm literally just guessing just from like masterminds I've seen you at and events and courses I know that you've even had success with and probably can implement that. Like I know that, doing a lot of inside sales and phone sales. I know that you've had a lot of success with like Rafael Vargas's previous course and doing dispositions. You had success with like Jamil and Keegley's course, like dispo and stuff. So like, this is almost a curation of Nick doing all these deals on a monthly basis, which is still going to sound crazy to a lot of people, including myself, but he's also bought courses, implemented them, tried and tested them, and has an awesome team, awesome culture there at the office. So highly recommend working with Nick and checking out and taking notes on this interview as well. So, man, how do you want to start this thing as far as real estate investing? How do we get into that game?
Man, it was 7 years ago now. It was this time in 2014 that I was coming up to the end of my lease. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and I was living in Northern Virginia, and my lease was ending at the end of February. And I had to make a decision because I was doing an outside sales job. I was actually selling frozen yogurt franchises, like the kind where you like make your cup and put it on the scale. Mm-hmm. I was selling those to entrepreneurs all around the country. So that was really hot for like 3 years. And then that trend like died off. And so I was at a crossroads where I was like, okay, I can sign another lease, get another job here in Northern Virginia, or I can go ahead and take a leap of faith and move, somewhere else. I knew I didn't want to keep living in Northern Virginia just because the weather, the traffic, it's a very transient city. I don't really like, I was kind of over it. I was 24 years old, so time for something new. And I didn't have a lot of money, but I said, screw it. I'm going to call an apartment locator and tell them to get me as close to downtown as you can for $1,000 a month. So he put me in the hood, in East Austin, and I packed everything in the back of my beater Mazda 3 and drove down with no friends, no network, no job lined up. And I just took a leap of faith and landed in Austin, Texas. So basically had my clothes. I was sleeping on an air mattress with no furniture. And I had to basically figure out what I was going to do with my life. And, I knew I didn't want to work for somebody forever. I knew I needed money right now, but I knew I didn't want to work for somebody forever. So as I was applying for jobs and things like that, I was looking up, different businesses, different ways to, start a business, and came across real estate wholesaling on YouTube, like most people do. And then just went really deep in there. I found a few people at first, and then I found Sean Terry and just started absorbing all of his information. So I'd watch those videos pretty much night and day, and I'm an implementer too. So if you tell me something, I'm going to go do it. So I started basically spending all the money that I didn't have into marketing. I had maybe like $5,000 to my name, and started spending it all on, postage to handwrite letters and things like that, bandit signs. And that's really how it began. But it wasn't an easy journey. It took me 11 months to get my first deal, 11 months and 104 appointments. I
Crazy.
struck out 104 times before I got my first deal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Two things really quick as we continue on the story. I'm just going to put as a side note. One, a commonality I see with massively successful people is taking massive perfect action with a short timeline between the inception of the thought and actually doing it. So Nick is incredibly resourceful, graduated top class, not from high school or college, but from YouTube University. And he just was watching wholesaling. As soon as he sees something, he implements it. I'll wait to tell a story when I met you at Sean Terry's event here as we go chronologically through the story. But that, and also just belief in the unknown, just like moving to another place. It's almost like a Grant Cardone advice. I heard him say that you should move every year or two just for that. So you move somewhere you don't know anybody, you're like jumping into the unknown, you're forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations. And Nick is really a master at those two just small mindset things. So continue. I just want to hit those points real quick.
Yeah, that was, that moving to Austin was probably the hardest thing that I ever did. But it was probably one of the best things. So anybody that's, looking to get out of maybe their hometown or whatever, do it. Yeah, I had $7,000 when I moved and I made it work, and Austin's not a cheap city either. So no excuses from anybody if you have that, thought to move to another place. But yeah, once, in that time period when I was going on those 104 appointments, I landed a job at Indeed, which I was very fortunate. You have to have a bachelor's degree to even get in there. And I told them I had a bachelor's. I don't have a bachelor's, but I needed a job or I was going to get evicted from my apartment. So they took a flyer on me, and I was so thankful at the time because I knew that, it was a really good sales job. So I got in there, I had imposter syndrome, but I told myself, like, I'm going to go in here, listen to everything these guys tell me to do. I'm going to do it to a T, work my butt off, and I want to get out of here as soon as possible. So I went in and literally just absorbed everything, the directors were telling me, and I went, Top Gun, like Rookie of the Year, President's Club. So I went from like basically almost getting evicted to making like $225,000 a year, like year one. Right. Mm-hmm. And I never stopped doing real estate. I went and, I had my 9 to 5 at Indeed, and then I had my 6 to 2, which is real estate. So I was working 18 hours a day, which, if you're starting a business, I don't care what business it is, that's probably what it's going to take for those first 2 to 3 years until you really get rolling. So I didn't have a problem doing it. I'd work, every single night in the evenings, and then all my weekends were dedicated to going on appointments. And that's how I really started, getting traction. And Indeed gave me not only, a job that was able to sustain my, necessities and also help me invest in marketing, but it gave me the skills and confidence to close over the phone, which is probably one of the most valuable skills that I've ever, got in my life.
And again, coming full circle to how your business is established now on the real estate side, as far as inside sales, like you're pretty much managing like a mini Wolf of Wall Street sales floor there in Austin, doing deals nationwide. So it's funny, a lot of your story comes full circle around there, like the snake eating its tail, a lot of stuff like that, which is cool.
Yep. And I run our sales team very similar to the way that Indeed runs their sales team, because they're one of the top sales organizations in the United States. So I pulled a lot of their, corporate philosophies in, and it works, right? You look at, model other companies that are successful. So, it's worked for me, and it's been a hell of a ride, but it took me, a good 2+ years at Indeed before I was able to actually make that transition to going full time.
Gotcha. And that was like probably 2017, 2018 range when you went full time.
27. Yeah, it was April of 2017. I would have been out sooner, but what ended up happening was I was dating a girl at the time. I had her doing my acquisitions, and then, like it wasn't working out. Like, she was kind of getting on, like I had another partner in the business as well. She was getting on his nerves. So he was like, hey, it's either her or me. I was like, well, I'm not that into this girl anyways. I'm going to break up with her. And I went to go break up with her, and we had a high-rise apartment downtown Austin. new vehicles, like brand new Pottery Barn furniture, everything. And I told her, hey, look, it's not working out. Just take your time getting your things. I'm going to be out until Friday anyway. So she was cool with it. She's like, yeah, that's fine. And then I'm walking down Congress Avenue in Austin, Texas, like 2 days later, and a guy comes up to me and said, are you Nick Perry? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He was like, you just got served. I was like, what did I get served for? And I pull out the stack of papers in there, and I was for divorce papers for a girl that I've been dating for 14 months.
Oh my
Right.
God.
So, yeah, in Texas, they have a thing called common law marriage. Basically, if you share the same address, if you have any financials together, you're considered married, which means you have to go through a legal divorce to break up with them. So, long story short, I ended up losing pretty much everything. I lost all my possessions. I couldn't get any of my cars. I couldn't get any of my clothes. I was basically homeless. I had to call my buddy and tell him, like, hey man, can you come pick me up on the corner so I can get a cell phone and a toothbrush, like a cell phone charger and a toothbrush. And that's how I started my entire life again, because the court, basically awarded her everything. And I had to pay like 30K in legal fees on top of that and half of my bank account. And then I had to start my life over. So I suffered a major setback, in that time period, losing all my physical possessions and having to restart my life. So, but I just kept grinding, kept going to work every day, kept going on real estate appointments. And, it took me an extra like 8 months to rebound from that. That happened in like July of 2016, August 2016. And then I left Indeed on March 15th of 2017.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. I'm curious, and like I know you, so I'm fascinated by just like your big thinking and just mental mindset makeup in general. But like everybody is going through life. Like shitty stuff happens to everybody, and that's part of any single real estate investor or whatever you're doing in life. Like life just happens. In addition to the hard work and your expectation for just knowing that you're going to have to work 18-hour days every single day, be completely committed to it, what do you think separates someone like you who's willing to stick it out till month 11, and you probably would have went for 24, 36 months till getting your first deal, and also something like that? Because at some point everybody's going to have like a significant other or relationship, even if it's not a romantic relationship, just relationships that go bad where you get betrayed or something like that. What do you think separates you and people like you that overcome that and almost use that as like a catapult to fling themselves to more success, and people that might get like debilitated by that?
I don't ever quit. So like I have something in me, like it's kind of like it's almost like the, dog analogy. Their dog's gonna like fight or flight, right? So like if you get me into a corner, I'm going to go till my last breath. There's just no way around it. Like if I'm in a corner, I'm going to just flail out and go 110% balls to the wall. And the only way that you're going to stop me is you're going to have to kill me. Those are the only two options.
Love that.
So yeah, unless the only way that I would ever quit is if I was like dead or severely incapacitated. Other than that, no matter what happens, no matter whatever the setback is, how challenging the situation is, I'm going to keep going, because there's just I just have that entrepreneurial spirit and hunger that's like just to my core. It can't be broken.
How much of that do you think is innately in you, just naturally, just either how you were born or maybe like how your mind was conditioned as a child, versus how much you've intentionally tried to add that on through books, reading, mentors, YouTube University, following certain people and stuff like that? What's like the ratio there, you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is developed over time. But when I was like an adolescent, like I went to go live with my dad because my mom moved to another city that was far away, and in order to stay in the same like school district and everything and continue playing football, I had to go live with him. But my dad lived in like the hood of the hood, right? Like 1-bedroom apartment. A lot of crime there. There was drug dealings, prostitution, shootings, the whole nine. Not a very safe area. So I stayed on the couch with him, no closet, no bedroom, and lived on the couch, and like got to really experience poverty firsthand, to the extent where like my dad did the best he could, and I love my dad to death. Me and my dad having a wonderful relationship, but back then times were rough. Like we didn't have food a lot of times. So, I remember like just being to the point, it was like, nobody's coming to save you. Like, you got to save yourself. Right. And so I started working at 14 years old, and I haven't stopped working since. And I think having that, realization at a young age as an adolescent that, the only person that's going to get you out of this situation is going to be yourself, was humbling. Cause I think a lot of people, have it easier where they, have, parents that are, a little bit more financially better off and that can help them, even into early adulthood and stuff like that. I didn't have that cushion or that safety net. So, I had to grow up real quick at a young age and figure out how to survive.
Absolutely, man. Well, your hard work is paying off tenfold, and it's massively deserved. One thing, and like you hear about that, like with anybody that's successful, that's interviewed, like you're gonna get interview requests as you're successful, whether it's niche real estate podcasts like this or any Joe Rogan, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you're on Joe Rogan someday, but especially in Austin, he's right there.
He's right down the street. He's like a half mile from me.
That's funny. Yeah, we'll have to get you on there someday.
Yeah,
I think it'll happen. But I'm curious, man, because everybody has that. Because I'm more of the latter part, and that's a big like way or reason that I live my life the way I do, because I had all the love in the world growing up. Happy-go-lucky guy, like class clown, love to make people laugh, friends with everybody, love understanding how people's minds work. I think that's why I always can relate with a lot of people, stuff like that. And part of the reason I'm so big into mindset and helping people with their mindset, because I realize that I come from a really blessed situation of like a lot of love and friendship in my life throughout my entire life growing up. So for somebody that doesn't have that situation where, you're a young teen growing up in poverty, and like Tony Robbins talks about, like you have a deep impression of emotional impact that's driving you towards, motivation down the line, everything like that. What type of stuff, and it may be a little bit of an obvious answer of like reading and putting, watching good stuff on YouTube and things like that. But like, what kind of advice would you have for somebody that more so grew up with me where it wasn't, emotionally negative or driving pain points like Tony Robbins talks about?
Well, I mean, let me just back it up. Like, I didn't have my shit together until a few years ago, right? So everything that has got me to where I am now is all that continual mindset and just philosophy of never ending improvement. And that never stops. That's a journey. My goal for me is to be the best version of myself. When God calls me home, I want him to be proud of me, and I want to be the best version of myself. In order for me to do that, I have to continue to push myself and educate myself and implement the education that I'm getting, because education is nothing without implementation, right? So that anybody that is trying to become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever your personal professional goals are, you need to surround yourself with the best people you possibly can, whether that's going to events or going on YouTube or listening to podcasts, and literally inundating yourself with that every single day, because your brain's just like a computer, right? So whatever you put into it, it's gonna reciprocate that. If you're putting in negativity, like you're watching the news and stuff all day, you're probably not going to have the best mindset. If you're watching podcasts and stuff like this, and this is what's going through your mind every day, you're going to be on a much different vibration. You're going to have a sharper way of thinking about you. So I know you're up in Baltimore. I'm a big Ray Lewis fan. And Ray Lewis gave me one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever got. I said, hey man, what would you say is really kind of got you to where you are, Hall of Fame and everything? He said, watch your five senses. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, watch what you touch, watch what you taste, watch what you hear, watch what you smell, and watch all your five senses, because your body's a sensory organ. So if you're hanging around bad people, you're listening to bad things, you're eating a bunch of junk, then don't expect your life to improve. Only let your body be around positive things and positive things will happen to you. And that's a practice for anybody, moving forward, no matter what stage of life you're in.
A mental framework or a guiding principle for life, or a value, maybe it is the Tony Robbins. You said it the exact same way that I do, which is the acronym CANI, CANI, which is constant, never-ending improvement. So I think the first part of Nick's answer there encapsulates kind of just you're living life until you go 6 feet in the ground, or however we go out here in this life. Pretty much you're living it, always looking at ways to improve or enhance, make things more efficient. That's 1,000% how I am. It's almost like Steve Jobs talking about like lazy employees or something like that. Like they're not lazy, they're just good at figuring out how to do things more efficiently in less time. That's what I do with every single thing in my life, and I have it as an automated behavior. Now, I'm not perfect, but I'm typically looking at ways to do things just more efficiently, whether it's with work and career stuff, personal stuff like nutrition. I always talk about like nutrition and working out and stuff like that. Nick's the same way. But that's kind of one of the main values or guiding principles that Nick and I both live our lives through, is the constant, never-ending improvement, whatever you do. I'd love to hear where you talked to Ray Lewis. I actually, I think it was 2019, one of the most listened to podcasts of that entire year for me was Raphael interviewing Ray Lewis, which was
I got to
podcast.
speak with them on the phone.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because through
awesome.
Raphael, I got to just have a quick conversation with him, and that was he just dropped that gem on me just like that. That was basically the extent of the conversation. It left a lasting impression,
dude,
on me. And yeah, when you hear something from like somebody that's great like that, you don't take it lightly. So I've kept that with me.
Dude, your brain can remember every single, the five senses, every single thing that happens. So when it's something like that with really elevated emotion, man, you'll remember that the rest of your life. I'll even remember you telling me that for a while. So cool, man. Amazing stuff so far. Really good vision here. So let's talk a little bit about getting into, we're working at Indeed, getting a lot of good sales experience, getting some confidence now. You got a nice, probably 6-figure job over there. Living in a place in Austin. Technically got divorced, or not with the.
I've been divorced, but I've been divorced, but I've never been married. So, there's a riddle.
Yeah, there's a riddle for you guys. That's like a Snapple fact of Nick Perry. I'll have some of those shipped. I'll have that shipped out to a lucky listener. Snapple facts on Nick Perry. That'll be one of them. But cool, man. Let's keep this thing moving chronologically as far as still, because when we met originally, you were still at Indeed at the first Sean Terry event that we met at.
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit there, and I'll say it from I'll say my perspective real quick, and then I'll cue it up to you. So Nick was on InvestorFuse that's how we met, just via like Zoom meetings and stuff like that, and email and stuff. And he had somewhat, I guess you could say it was a mentor, or kind of like a guide that I believe was mostly helping with some dispositions and selling deals once they got under property. And then also had a partner that I think was more so on the acquisition, that was kind of a limited partner that would just get percentages of wholesale deals, who I would talk to as well. And I met him at the Sean Terry event. So tell me a little bit about that timeline. You were learning from Sean Terry, you decided to spend a few $100 and get that ticket to go there.
Yeah. So, when at that time period, because I was in my 9-to-5 job, it was hard for me to take real estate calls and things like that. So one thing I did was I hired like a really good rock star VA there in the beginning that could facilitate those calls, build that rapport, get all the necessary information about the lead. And then I would call them after I got off work, and or she would just schedule an appointment for me that evening or on the weekends. And that's how I began the process. And then it got so busy that I was missing opportunities. So I needed to bring on like an acquisitions. And even though I was in Indeed at the time, my friend, he was kind of in between things. And so I said, well, here's what I'm doing. Here's an opportunity to, do some acquisitions and, close some real estate deals. And he was all about it. He jumped on board, and he was doing my acquisitions. And then I had a partner, kind of like not a partner, he was like a mentor at the time. that got me in because he knew all the technical things about real estate that I didn't know. And so that helped me out in the beginning, him helping with, the contract language, dealing with the title companies and stuff like that. Um, I'm a pretty simple guy, so like I can conceptualize, buy a property here, sell it here, but
Mhm.
all the other things in between, like at the beginning, I definitely needed help with that. So, I was able to bring in somebody with more experience to kickstart my, career.
Very cool. So let's keep it rolling there, man. We have a mentor that's kind of helping with the dotting the i's, crossing the t's. When me and
Right.
you are kind of simple, we just see it, buy for a dollar, sell for two. You brought on a buddy for acquisitions, getting a lot of good sales and marketing experience as a sales and marketing guy for sure. Um, what continued to happen there as you scaled from this range? You're probably doing like 1 to 3 deals a month, and
Right.
I'm sure we mentioned at the beginning of this, or a lot of you guys know Nick Perry. I mean, he's been doing 30, 40 plus deals a month nationwide, which is pretty crazy. I'm just trying to unpack this chronologically a little bit for you guys.
Right. So at that point, I'm doing Indeed. I'm working multiple browser tabs because I got real estate going on. I got Indeed stuff going on. I'm pissing my
Money.
bosses off because, you know, I'm running a little bit of a company, while I'm doing my 9 to 5 as well. And like you said, we're getting like, 2 or 3 deals a month. You're making, 20 to 40K a month. And you know, I went to, Sean Terry, and I said, "Hey man, when's a good time to, quit your job?" And I told him what my liquidity was in the bank. It wasn't like that much because I just got common law, right? I was
Yeah.
building back up. I think I had like 60 grand to my name. And he said, "Well, you spend 160 hours a week at your 9 to 5 job. Is that correct? You work 40 hours a week?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "If you put 160 hours a week into your real estate business, would you make more money?" And the
Mm.
definitive question was yes. So I got off the phone with Sean Terry and I said, "All right, I'm gonna get one more quarterly bonus and then I'm out." So I had like a 90-day runway where I was counting down the days, like, 74 more days to go, 26 more days to go, right? And then I went to my boss on that day zero after the bonus check hit my account, and I had a good reputation at Indeed. I was, a closer there, so
Mm.
went to them, and they were all, really supportive and happy, for my next move in my journey. I'm still friends with those guys, to this day. And yeah, they were happy for me. And I remember walking out walking out those front doors in downtown Austin. The first call was my mom. Told my mom, "Hey, this is what's going on." And after that, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. I was right back to work. It wasn't like I took any time off. You know what I mean? So I went straight home and I got my ass to work. I think I went on an appointment, early that afternoon and just kept it rolling. So um, it was a really good feeling though, to basically have that time freedom and not have to answer, to somebody. And that was a long time like goal coming for me. So that was a big milestone right there. And once you do that, it's all on you at that point. It's sink or swim. You don't have some employer cutting you a check. So you got to put your big boy pants on and you got to go to work and you got to make shit happen.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, I just have that, innate tenacity that, if I have something that's, serious like that, I go after it 100%. Like, I just, go after things, as hard as I can and give it my best shot always. And, that's what I've been doing since, once we started doing that. Then, 2017, one of my coworkers called me shortly after this, probably 6 months afterwards. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing? I've been wondering, interested in like, what are you doing?" Because he was actually my intern at Indeed, and he saw everything I was doing. I actually helped him get his first real estate deal, and then he got hired on at Indeed, and he was doing really well there. But he kind of had that growth mindset as well. And he
Mm-hmm.
calls me. He's like, "Hey, look, he was making 6 figures, but he was like, well, do you have anything that I can do to kind of be part of the team?" And I was like, "Oh shit! I mean, you could be a cold caller for like 500 a week, right?" And he was like, "Screw it, yeah." Jumped on with me. His name's Brandon. jumps on board with me, and I had him taking like inbound RVM calls at the time, just getting hammered with like FUs
Those are
all
brutal, yeah.
day. And he, basically maxed out all his credit cards to like come work with me. And then just, I mean, dude's a boss. He rose the ranks like all the way through the entire company. So he was like my first, like, really rock solid like hire. So now I've got Brandon, I've got Logan, who is working with me on acquisitions. I've still got the VA. And at this time, the mentor, he's gone. He's been out of the picture now. So it's just us. We got like a little 3-man fucking army, going out there to take over the world. So Brandon came on, started doing acquisitions or cold calling. Then he moved his way into acquisitions. And then from there, as we started to bring on more acquisitions, he just naturally took seniority on them, helped train them, helped, with, all of our processes and systems, and basically pioneered, the entire acquisitions department. And then I was doing dispositions at the time. So had 2 guys doing acquisitions, and I'm doing dispo. And then we kind of just evolved from a local company to a nationwide company, because I never intended on doing nationwide wholesaling. That was not my intention. My intention was to fucking dominate Austin. But Austin is one of those markets where even if the seller's going into foreclosure tomorrow, they want 105% retail. They don't care. There's just not a lot of distress. And so your cost per deal here in Austin is close to like $9,000. And the average assignment fee is like, $10,000. So it doesn't make sense. So I had to start going into San Antonio and into Houston, and I was doing a lot of SEO. And the outcome of that SEO was I started getting leads from all over the country. I was trying to just get leads in San Antonio and Houston, but I'm getting leads from Ohio, Pennsylvania, like Missouri, you name it, and I would just trash them. If it wasn't from one of the Texas cities, I'd trash them. And I remember we were getting kind of dry on leads in Texas. And so Brandon's like, now, why don't we just try one of these? Like, let's just see how it goes, see if we can do it. And he locks up a deal in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And, he gives me this contract. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to do something with it now because I'm doing dispo. So I just, got aggressive, got on Facebook, started calling a bunch of, realtors and stuff there in the area. And lo and behold, I got a buyer, made $12K on it. And then that was kind of proof of concept. We got one like right after in Ohio. And then like we just started popping these nationwide deals all over the country. And we haven't really looked back since then.
Love that, man. Quick anecdote at that Sean Terry event that we met at. I definitely thought Nick was wild because I was outside as I just had like an InvestorFuse table set up. And during one of the presentations, Nick comes out and I'm talking to him and he's like on mute for a second. And he's literally on the phone with like multiple credit card companies, having them open up like a $10,000 line of credit for marketing expensive. And I just thought to myself, like, damn, this dude's wild. He's in here maxing out credit cards for marketing while he's at an event learning. I'm like, this dude is gonna get this dude's either like wild, like gonna flame out, or he's literally gonna be massively successful. And I obviously thought the latter there, but that was funny just to see, like, from my perspective, I always talk about mindset stuff, think mindset stuff. I was like, this guy just like massive amounts of belief in a vision and thinking things are possible and just like no hesitation for taking action. Like you have that mental muscle, like I need to do something, like there's no hesitation. There's limited chatter in your head. Like, oh man, like I'll wait till Monday, or maybe I should wait to spend all that marketing money until, I get the quarterly bonus from Indeed, anything like that.
Go big
so
or
I
go
still
home.
remember that. Yeah.
You go big or go home. And like one of the biggest things that I noticed from all the successful, especially real estate entrepreneurs out there, is one common trait of fearlessness, right? You can't be gun shy. As an entrepreneur, you have to have courage. You got to be able to take calculated risk, and you can't be scared. If you let fear slow you down, you're going to end up, you're not going to be nearly successful. You need to, if you see an opportunity, pull the trigger. I always have a saying, like, what's the worst thing that happened? I could die. That's the worst thing that could happen to me is I die. Like at the end of the day, I know where I'm going. I'm going to heaven. So like worst thing that happens is I die. So
Yeah.
I'm not scared to play all out and take calculated risk and things like that. I go bankrupt, so what? I'll figure out how to come right back. I'll get that shit removed off my credit and I'll be right back.
Love that. One
Yeah.
one good book I'm rereading, just my highlights of, is the Magic of Thinking Big that I have down here, and I'm just rereading through my highlights. And one really good anecdote I got the other day, which directly relates to this, is it's simple, kind of like what Sean Terry told you. Like, are you going to make more money in the same hours working real estate than at your job? And when you feed simple things like that to your brain, where it can just make kind of like a fork in the road decision, it helps you like automatically go, or at least like gravitate towards that action. But the magic of big thinking says real simple, which makes sense. Action cures all fear. So you can have like a second of fear, but you kind of build up momentum. And this is something I'm not nearly the master of Nick at, but just taking massive action just cures any type of fear of the unknown or whatever you think is going to happen. And that's also a good exercise. I'm just pointing out some things that Nick does, because there's going to be a ton of them on here. But a good exercise, like think about the worst possible thing that would happen. All right, I die, go to heaven, do
I
whatever you
died. I
think
went
happens to that villain.
bankrupt. Like, what's your
Yeah,
biggest fear? Yeah.
yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly. Great exercises and mindsets hit there. So, dude, we got Logan and Brandon, and really, dude, you just got, and he is as well, being able to work with you, but you got really fortunate with Brandon, just as somebody that bought into the vision of the company, which we're going to talk. I already have a little bullet point I want to hit with you on that, but he bought in $500 a week, banging phones. And he was pretty much like a self-starter that wanted to build that company out. He gave you the idea to start trying to take down some of these leads that were outside of Texas. So you got very fortunate with him. And I guess, and at this point, Logan is working with you a little bit as well. This probably transitions nicely into, in addition to just being adaptable, which all entrepreneurs do. That's what Nick and his team were when they started getting all these SEO leads from outside of Austin. But this probably transitions well into like what people would learn in the 7-figure cartel coaching, as far as where you're at there. Not everybody's going to be doing the same exact marketing, but marketing in this real estate wholesaling space is no secret to anybody, as far as like strategies you can use. You have to be consistent, of course, but like this probably is a good point to touch on, like lessons that you learned in that time when you started doing nationwide wholesaling and learning PPC and looking at those metrics every day and stuff like that. If you kind of want to hit on that, and what type of stuff that you would be teaching just in your lessons the last few years.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever you target like entire country, everything becomes a lot cheaper. Like with PPC, it's cheaper. If you do TV, you buy like remnant ad space on TV. It's way cheaper than if you were going to just do it in like Baltimore. Same thing with radio. If you do remnant ad space nationally, way cheaper. Say if you want to pull a like niche list to RVM or text or cold call, you're not just limited to that. Say you're pulling pre-foreclosure in Austin, you have 600 people. Once those 600 people are up, you got to wait until next month, right? But if you don't have geographical restrictions, well, you can hit all the hottest leads in the country, right? So that scale is why it works so well, because you have that cheaper lead, you can go after better leads, and you're not constricted geographically to one certain area. So I had to learn that, but that's great when you can generate all those leads nationwide. We do a really good job of that. Where the rubber meets the road is not just locking up those contracts, but how do you get rid of those properties as well without, losing it? Because when we first started doing it, we would only close like 1 out of every 5 contracts that we locked up. So I've wasted like 4/5 of my life on properties that didn't close for those first couple years. So massive inefficiency. And so over the last 3 years now, we've got it dialed into where we're closing, unless there's a buyer, seller, or like title issue, like an uncurable title, we're closing that property. But we had to get really, really good at knowing how to analyze properties all over the country to make accurate offers and accurate repair estimates, doing it sight unseen. So that's really what we dive into is the marketing, And then what are the processes, to make, accurate offers, close the properties over the phone? How do you get it over to your dispositions team and make sure that everything flows smoothly? You get you get the buyers inside the properties without getting snaked, or issues coming up, because we've dealt with all of them. So as you get punched in the mouth, you end up making figuring out new things, right? Most policies come from pain. So we've uh, we've had the pain, we've learned the lesson, we figured out how to overcome it, and we've been doing that for you know uh, three years now, you know 50 hours a week to get it to this point. So now that's why we had the best year we ever had in 2020. It wasn't because um, we were lucky or anything like that. It's because all those previous years we were getting everything dialed into where it is now.
Love that, man. I got to ask, just because you're at such a high level, but kind of like your general overview or perception, because a lot of people were forced into more of a virtual model or sight unseen wholesalers were, at least in 2020 with COVID. So I'd love to hear kind of your general broad stroke answer on like best practices around locking up deals over the phone, whether it's in your local market or completely, in the middle of nowhere. And then also best strategies around dispo. And of course, in Nick's course, he's gonna go more into details of common properties, repairs, best dispo strategies, things like that, and how to all tie that in together with systems and processes. But what would you say kind of in general has been like your bread and butter, or what has led you to success in those areas, or acquisitions and dispositions virtually?
Yeah. So on like acquisitions, what really helped us out was um, being able to get the seller in front of their laptop or their smartphone or their email when we were presenting the offer. Because before we would tell the seller, like, hey, the offer's 45K, and they'd say, all right, great. When we'd say, all right, we'll send you the contract and then just get it signed and sent back, today before we call it business. That does not work. That's the fastest way to get ghosted. So the way that we do it is we, call the seller, say, hey, our underwriter is just finishing up with everything. Are you in front of your email right now? You have your phone or laptop? And if they say no, then reschedule to speak with them and deliver that offer at a later time. What you want to do is be able to have them captive in front of their DocuSign and be able to walk them through that contract while they're on the phone and get them to sign. You're going to have probably like a 10x higher conversion rate if you do it like that. So that was a big takeaway on acquisitions. Another big takeaway was actually knowing how to comp all these regions and sub-regions within the United States. It wasn't until we got really good at that we started closing, 4 out of every 5 deals, or 4.5 out of every 5 deals. When we didn't know how to comp properly, our drop rate was super, super high. So we've, Brandon, I put him up against anybody in the nation on, doing comps, all over the country. So he's tremendous at that. He actually coaches and mentors people too, just in that specific area. So that's been a blessing, is to really dial in and learn how to do that at a high level. And then on dispositions it's just a process, right? So it's first of all, establishing expectations with the seller to make sure that they know what's going to happen through it, because a lot of times you'll lose contracts because you haven't properly set expectations with the seller and made sure that they feel comfortable with you and what's going to happen from now until closing. And you want to make sure that you not only build rapport, set the expectations, but let them ask questions. So after you go through your speech on how this rest of this transaction is going to go, you ask them. So, while you got me on the phone, is there anything else top of mind that you can think of that I can help you out with, or any questions that you might have? And let them speak, because sometimes like a stupid thing will screw up a deal, right? Like they'll say like, oh, you know what? Like they'll back out of a contract for a reason, something so stupid like, it said in the contract that anything that was fixed to the seal, anything fixed to the property, you know, has to stay there. And I really want to bring my blinds, and I can't bring my blinds, so that's a deal breaker. You know, stupid stuff like that. So making sure that you have good communication, open communication with the sellers, and then, you know, next steps in the process is actually, you know, getting photos and marketing that property. So we go through that extensively in the you know, in the program, because it's, you know, it's a process, but just like any, you know, business department, you just follow processes and you get results.
100%. On the acquisition side, real quick, for the smaller percentage of sellers that you're not able to walk through on like a Zoom to go through DocuSign or something like that, how do you best work with potentially like older sellers, like maybe sending out a mobile notary or a realtor on your behalf or something like that to
Yeah.
represent
So
the company?
yeah, mobile notary is actually the best way to go, because they're going to actually get it notarized too, so your contract's even stronger. So first thing you want to do is mobile notary. If you have a lot of competition on the deal and you can't get a mobile notary out there till like next business day or something, send the contract, fax it to like the nearest FedEx office or UPS store, and tell the seller, hey, go down to the you know, FedEx store over on 123 Main Street, and they'll have it waiting for you there. And then you're just going to sign it and then fax it back. Call me when you get there, and then I'll walk you through it.
Sweet. And do you
Because
have
you
any
call FedEx,
recommend?
that, you know, they'll do it for you. So it costs you a little bit of money, but not much.
Yeah, worth it. And then do you have any recommendations for mobile notaries that you guys personally use?
Brandon has the resource on that. I don't even know what he's using right now.
Good. That's
So
a good thing. You don't like
yeah,
when you talk to high level people, like they shouldn't be involved. Like you trust Brandon and have that completely
right,
dialed in.
right.
Love that. So would you say like the biggest, and kind of in your own words, like the biggest levers to where you're doing consistent like 30 and 40 deals a month and now have like, I don't even know at this point, like 5 or 6 full-time, inside sales guys hitting the phone, a handful of people on the dispo side. Would you say the biggest thing that just got you from, only 1 of 5 contracts converting to now 4 to 4.5 out of 5 contract converting, plus the volume that you're doing monthly, is really just the details in the comping and understanding the properties better in like the market, the major markets and the sub markets there. That's like kind of the main thing.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, look at like even your city, like Baltimore. Like you could have a really nice comps, but if it's on one side of the street and not the other, it could change the comps completely, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
know about all these things, and it sounds like a lot, but you start seeing patterns in different markets, so you can quickly identify patterns. It's not like I've memorized every city in the United States, but we know the patterns and what kind of demographics are in each city and how that impacts how we do the comparables. So that's been one of the biggest takeaways. Yeah, you got to know what you're doing. I know a lot of like gurus and stuff out there that will teach you like, just offer 40 or 50% of Zillow. Well, a lot of times you're undercutting yourself, or either you're maybe offering too low and I'm going to come in and get the deal, or you might be even at 40% in some markets. That may still be too high of an offer.
Mm-hmm.
You should really be offering like 25. If you don't understand what you're doing, you're going to spin your wheels a lot doing this nationwide thing. It sounds sexy, but it's actually work.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
dude, I totally get that. Um, so yeah, anything that you want to hit on as far as we could talk marketing a little bit, or I'm not, sorry, not marketing, hiring a little bit, like how you kind of went from Brandon and Logan to getting more to like what you have now. Is that strictly just like a numbers game of how many leads you have coming in? Like if you have, maybe roughly like 250 to 350 leads coming in per week, like is that strictly just off those numbers, or what's kind of like your insight on hiring and best practices around that, and kind of a shorter answer?
Yeah. So each acquisition can handle between like 50 and 75 new leads per week, is what it comes down to. If you start giving them more than that, their conversion will drop on you because they just can't follow up. There's a lot going on. They've got their old leads, they got their new leads. So 50 to 75 new leads per week. And once you increase your marketing and you start pushing beyond, especially that 75 mark, you need to get somebody else in to take that additional lead flow, or you're going to have trouble with your conversion. We can only do so much in a day and follow with so many people. So 50 to 75 is really that number of new leads a week that a rep can handle and still be able to follow up effectively with other leads.
Sweet. And I'll ask here for a quick answer as well, just because I know you've done content with us in our history before around hiring and using and leveraging Indeed, which we've mentioned already that you've worked at and stuff like that. And I heard you talk about it at Wholesaling Live in Houston a couple years ago at this point, 2019, end of 2019. So what would be your best advice around or insight around hiring and putting up ads on Indeed? Because I know there's a certain rhythm and algorithms as far as like how often you post and things like that.
Yeah, and it's actually changed since we talked back in Houston. So before I was teaching how to do it, but it's changed slightly. It's basically still the same principle. At the end of the day, when you're hiring people, you want to get as many qualified resumes in as you possibly can. It's just like in real estate. Like you're trying to close contracts, you want to get as many qualified properties into your pipeline as possible. So how do you get qualified resumes at scale? Well, you're not going to do it by just posting one sponsored job and putting like $100 a day behind it. It doesn't really work that way. The way that we do it is we'll post multiple jobs, which is not it's against the community standards for Indeed, but I'm always pushing the envelope. So we'll put multiple sponsored jobs out there, but we'll change the title and the job description. So one may say real estate account manager. The next one might say real estate inside sales, right? One may say a different job title. So we're just slightly spinning the job titles and slightly spinning the descriptions of each ad. So that way the automatic bot on the search quality team doesn't flag your jobs. Because if you just carbon copy each one, they're going to nail you real quick. They have bots in their search quality team. They're going to be like, yeah, right, get out of here. So you just have to spin the jobs a little bit. And then once you've done that, essentially you've got 5-10 postings that are worded slightly different. You've been able to 5 to 10x the amount of applicants that you can get. And what you got to know about Indeed is a search engine. So all it's doing is looking at the keywords in the title and the job description and trying to pair you up with whatever the job seeker is looking for. So like when people are looking for my jobs, I have sales, inside sales, account manager, quotas, all the sales kind of buzzwords in there. So if somebody's searching on Indeed, they're going to see my job, right? I shouldn't have like astrophysicist clicking on my jobs because I'm not showing in those search results. So make sure that you have keyword-rich job titles and also keyword-rich job descriptions as well. And if you follow that, you can really scale that as far as you want to go. If I was in a pinch and I was like, I need, 500 resumes today, I would call my VA and say, hey, here's what I need you to do. I need you to post all these jobs at $5 daily and spend every single one of them, 300 different times. And I can, essentially 300x the traffic that I was getting. So those are the ways that we, I guess, game the traffic there on Indeed, and that helps us speed up our hiring process, which time is money. So any way you can get faster in business is always good.
Love it. That's definitely like a really good mechanical answer and strategy, especially utilizing a VA to do those postings for you. One thing to touch on, though, which I've heard you say for hiring, which I would make an argument is more important, or at least equally important, is attracting people like Brandon, who started off just banging phones for $500. Now he's COO, baller.
He's CEO now.
CEO.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm talking to him for InvestorFuse stuff tomorrow. I'm pumped to catch up with him.
Yeah.
But one thing, dude, that I think is more important, equally important, is the culture. And when you're hiring and bringing someone on, a good quote that you have is your vision and dream has to be big enough to fit everybody else's inside of it. And I think that's like
Correct.
such a foundational for whether you're building a company, starting a family, and like, having your wife be on board for like, hey, this is what our life would look like the next like 50, 60 years, or like any type of long-term relationship that's most applicable. We'll keep it applicable for here for building your real estate business. But talk to me a little bit about that, how you got that insight, and how you use that when building out your team and company.
Yeah, I mean, the way that our culture is here is we are all basically on the same journey, right? We're all
Mhm.
just at different stages. So, you know, everybody that works with me, I don't say they work for me, I say they work with me, right? They all have dreams and aspirations of their own, right? Anybody that's an adult usually has dreams or aspirations. So, my job as the leader is to help get them there as soon as possible. So my job as the visionary of this company is to make sure that my goals and dreams align with their goals and dreams, and how can we get them there the fastest. So like my acquisition guy, we're in the middle of getting him a fourplex right now. He's going to house hack it, and it's going to be a great start for him to start bringing in some passive cash flow. Right? I don't discourage that kind of behavior because at the end of the day, I mean, you're helping them get to their goals, and you have all boats rowing in the same direction. So that's my philosophy on how to build a world class like culture and organization, is to just help other people get what they want at
Mhm.
the end of the day, right?
Love
If
that.
you sit down in your one-on-ones with them and they say, hey, yeah, no, I want to be making 100 grand a year, passively. Okay, well, let's break that down. What's it really going to take, right? And you tie it into what it is in their day to day and their active income. How can they control it? So that's our philosophy: is help everybody get to financial freedom in the company, as fast as possible.
Love that. Absolutely
Yeah.
love that. One quick exercise I want to get your opinion on, because I know that both you and I do it, and I learned it from Sean Terry, is the January letter. I think that's a really big, and we've talked about this over dinner. The next point I'm going to bring up. I want to talk to you about that, but actually, let me say this, because I did want to say this at the beginning of the interview. I was thinking about it when I was walking this morning for my 75 hard outdoor workout. But I want to emphasize something that sounds cliche, but especially when I'm like talking with Nick or having conversations with Nick, is don't compare where you're at in your business to Nick. Like, you just have to think about your next action. I'm guilty of that myself on a daily basis. But like, think about how you can extract information, or we'll say like information or tactics or strategy from here, and just think about how you can make that your next move. Action cures all fear. Massive imperfect action is even better. So don't get down or have any type of feelings of like comparing where you're at to where Nick's at. That's just a quick message from our
I mean, it took me
our
104
sponsor.
appointments to get my first deal. So if you
Yeah,
get your first deal in less than 104 appointments, don't
yeah,
stress out. And I've been at this for 7 years now. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's my doorbell. You might be able to hear probably Amazon package, but yeah, tell me a little bit about the January letter exercise. I know that we're both big into that.
Yeah. So the January letter, I did that. I need to do it again this year. I haven't done it yet this year, but one thing that all the big stuff I put in my January letter all came true. And so if you guys don't know what the January letter is you write a letter to yourself, basically talking to yourself 1 year in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
if right now it's 2021, if I was writing the letter, I would be writing it from the place of me in 2022. I'd say, hey, I'm so happy and grateful that I've got X, Y, and Z. And you do that for every single area of your life, right? And everything that I've put in there, not everything, but a lot of the big stuff has come true in it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my fiance manifested her down to a T. In my January letter in 2017, I said, "Hey, I'm so glad I got this beautiful blonde girl with like blue eyes, that's short and funny and all that stuff." And then that was the first thing that showed up. I was like, "Oh shit, this is I wasn't ready for that. I was hoping that was going to be a little bit later on, but it showed up right away. Right. You know, having an office and world class, a world class real estate organization that was in there. The amount of money that I wanted came true. So all the big stuff came true. And I think one hack, I take it a step further than Sean Terry because I'm not a big reader. He tells you like read it to yourself every single day. I audio it. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
record it on my iPhone, just me reading it. And then I'll go ahead and put the earbuds in. And when I'm working out or even at night, I'll play that shit on loop. Right. So I'm just brainwashing myself with the January letter. And so that's worked for me. Try it. Might work for you too.
Yeah, check it out, dude. That's so funny because I do the same exact thing. Even part of my morning walk, not January letter, and it's funny because I still have to do mine. I have my outline, just bullet points, but I actually need to like go through and write it. But I'm the same exact way, either doing my like affirmations over certain brain waves, meditations, or something like that. And I'll listen to that to part of my walk, which I guess it still encapsulates a lot of January letter stuff. But I'm the same exact way.
Yeah, I still do them every single day. Like I write my goals down in the morning. This is called the 369
Love
calendar, and
that.
basically you write down whatever your manifestation is. You write it down 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and then 6 times in the evening. So like as soon as we finish up, I'm going through my 6 times in the afternoon, and then I'll
Love
do it this
that.
evening before I leave the office.
Dude, that's where the big magic happens in small compounded things like that. Like I have 5 minute journal. I'm always big into doing stuff like that. You can really feel you just have a different energy about life, and which leads you to attracting different stuff, taking different actions, things like that, which is awesome.
It's all the mindset, right? All those little
Hmm.
things compounded over time is what leads to a successful life.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could give you all the mechanical things and how to do this business, but at the end of the day, um, your mindset is what's going to allow you to execute those things at a high level and allow you to weather the storms when they come up.
Hmm.
Because in business, I don't care what level you're at, you're going to get punched in the face pretty much every day.
Hmm.
So you have to have the right mindset, or it's going to be really tough to make it in business.
Yeah, and it's not like a one time thing. It's like the I think it's Bruce Lee quote. Like it's not like you just do a bunch of mindset stuff one day and then you're good. Like it goes back to the principle of constant, never ending improvement. But the Bruce Lee quote I
Yeah,
love.
look at professional athletes. It's not like they get to the pros and then they don't have to go to practice anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Practice more.
They still got to show up 3 to 6 times a week for practice and play games.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing for everybody. It's not like a fighter wins a championship belt and then he doesn't have to train anymore. If he doesn't train, he's probably going to lose the next match.
Mhm.
So it's continual and never ending. If you don't continue to train your mindset, it'll atrophy and you'll get sloppy again. So don't let that
Mhm.
happen. You're either moving
Mhm.
forward or you're moving backwards. One of the two.
Absolutely, man. And I love the Bruce Lee quote, which encapsulates that perfectly. It's like I'm more afraid of the man who practices one kick every day for 10,000 days than the man that practices just 10,000 kicks in one day and then never does it again. Like it's all about small incremental for like wiring your brain, but also I think just like it's an unmatched level of confidence you get from that compound interest. Like we were talking before we started recording, when I was talking about 75 hard, like I can already feel like a different shift in confidence or another source of confidence from doing that type of stuff every
Well, you
single
know why?
day.
You know why? Is because confidence comes from honoring the promises you make to yourself. So you
Mm.
said I'm doing 75 hard, and you guys got 14 inches of snow on the ground there
Mm.
in Baltimore, and it's freezing cold, and nobody wants to go out at 6 a.m. And you're the one out there doing your workout at 6 a.m. in the morning, and that builds tremendous self confidence when you keep the promises you make to yourself. That's what builds self trust, self confidence, discipline, all the things that it takes to be successful. So, dude, hats off to you, man. That's I know I hate the cold. So
Same, dude. And I'm going to move somewhere eventually. Maybe I'll put that on my January letter for next year. And shout out to your dudes. I know you got dudes that are earlier on in the journey doing it as well. Another point that I had here that I just want to touch on, talk about Sadie and stuff, because I remember talking January letter. We were out at a Mexican restaurant in Austin, and I was asking you guys how like you met, like anybody who I respect that has a significant other or wife and kids and stuff like that, I always like to pick their brain because I'm a massive believer too. And you can really learn something valuable from every single person. Like, does not matter what. Like, you can learn something valuable from them. So I remember us having dinner at this Mexican restaurant after our mastermind, and you put that in your January letter. And I remember you were actually out on a date with another girl, and she came and picked you up just as like a friend, and then you guys ended up just like liking each other as friends, and obviously you hit it off since then. Shout out to Sadie, Sharky, and Romeo at home. But I kind of want to get your insight because everybody is going to come across this, whether you're female or male entrepreneur building a business or part of a business. What do you think is kind of your best advice or insights that you've learned building an empire with a significant other bought into that mission?
Yeah, having a supportive partner, I don't know how I would do it. Like when I was running this, on my own and I was single and stuff like that, there was just chaos. So like I've got, you know, somebody that's got my back 110%, that's supportive of me, in my wins and in my losses, because I still have losses every single day. You know what I'm saying? I still have big wins every single day. I got more wins than I got losses, but you know, at the end of the day, having somebody that can see the vision with you, see the long-term outcome, and have something to build together, because she's not in real estate, but she's killing it in her own life, right? So we're running parallel journeys to where we want to go. I think we all have similar goals, but like, our goals, as a family is like, be able to live a life of abundance, do what we want, uh, when we want, go where we want, with the people we want to do it with, without like having limitations,
Mm-hmm.
because that's freedom at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So we're busting our ass and working uh, to make that a reality as soon as possible. And, having somebody there to do that with is like rocket fuel, because I'm not gonna let her down, and she's not gonna let me down, and we're gonna be there for each other. Even when things are rough some days. Hey, what's going on? Like, I had an employee that decided to leave yesterday, and I had a deal falling apart, and I was just like, oh gosh, I had a big deal falling apart. It happened, and she gave me a pep talk on the phone, before I went to lunch. I came back from lunch, new man, and we actually had an amazing day yesterday. So
Love that.
yeah. So,
I love that,
having
man.
somebody there in your corner, whether it be friends, family, significant other, other people that are in the business, that fellowship and close community is everything.
Love that, man. Well, dude, this has been an awesome interview. I know that before we talked, we didn't want to talk a lot of like KPIs and stuff like that, where you may have other content out. We really want to talk about what me and you really think is the ultimate 80-20 or 80-20 in life. The leverage point is mindset. And we've come to establish that it's an everyday thing. Even you doing some stuff that's morning, afternoon, and night, like the journaling. I do a similar one as well. But you shared a lot of good stuff here. I would highly, highly endorse Nick's coaching program if you are in that range, maybe doing like a deal a month, 2 deals a month, maybe a little bit even more sporadic with COVID and stuff. Checking out Seven Figure Cartel, seven the number cartel, figurecartel.com in the show notes down below. And what's the best place to reach out to you, Nick, in addition to there? Any social media, anything like that?
Yeah, Instagram's pretty good. Nick Perry REI is my Instagram. I've tried to be as good as I can on my DMs. So you can reach out to me there if you need anything. Facebook, I'm almost maxed on the friends there, but Facebook's also, I'm active on, Facebook, Instagram. And that's pretty much it right now.
Sweet. Well, dude, much love and appreciation for you, brother. And I appreciate spending, I think we ended up talking for about an hour and a half here. Grateful for the time that you blocked off. Because I know that you're a busy guy, but I appreciate
I
all the
always
help that you
make
give
time
others.
for you, Dan, John, all you guys have been huge in my real estate investing journey. So same thing. If you guys are using InvestorFuse, stay plugged into these guys, because this is what we use in our business every single day. So I'm a living testimony. You can grow and scale $1 million, multi-million-dollar company, using what they're doing. So thank you guys, man. Really
Appreciate that,
appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate that, man. Well, thank you guys for checking out the episode. And thank yourselves for checking it out because Nick is an awesome guy. And like we said, Mindset is the most important thing in our humble opinion. Have a fantastic day. Work on those January letters, even though this will be released in February. Nick and I are still finalizing ours, so no shame in that game there. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace.